Hello, and welcome to The Base, Big and Small Screens. Today, because it's still Halloween month, we're still doing some horror movies. I'd like to talk to you about this delightful one, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake version, which came out a few years back. This has Jackie Earle Haley starring as none other than Freddy Krueger. Now, I am a huge Freddy Krueger fan ever since I was young, probably way too young to see the movies. And myself and one of my best friends, uh, no, sorry, myself and my best friend, I should say, we ended up renting the third one and watching it, even though we probably shouldn't have been allowed to. But that's what happens when you live in a small town. You get away with things. And we watched the third one and enjoyed it immensely. I mean, come on, we were young boys. It had blood, gore, people dying, people swearing. There was some nudity in it. You can't go wrong. That sort of thing ran through a lot of the horror movies back in the 80s and 90s, and still to this day. But this one, this wonderful little remake that they did, I've seen every Freddy movie. Every single Nightmare on Elm Street, from the first to the last. I've seen some of the television show that was out there, um, and I've seen Freddy vs. Jason, which came out before this one. But this one, this is the remake of the original story, uh, the very first one, and they do a lot. There's a lot of homages in this to that original story. A lot of scenes that play out very, very similar, but they take a lot differently too. Um, they go a lot more serious into it. Even though this is, supernatural horror monster movie type stuff, they play a lot with the seriousness of it. And to the fact that it even gets um, very, very interesting towards the end. But I'll get into that in a minute. Um, First off, the horror element, the aspect of the gore and the killings and all this and that, it is not played for laughs at all. In some of the later Nightmare on Elm Street movies, they tended to play up the kills with Freddy, cracking wise and dropping one-liners and all this and that. That doesn't really happen here. No, no. Uh, this one is really back to the roots of horror, back to how the original movie was. Um, the original Nightmare on Elm Street, where it was very, very gritty and horror and scary. And they do it well. Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy Krueger, absolutely amazing. I loved him completely in it. I can't really say much about anybody else in the movie because I don't know really any of the other actors, the kids that end up getting killed. I don't know them that well. They were passable. I wasn't there to see them anyways. I was there to see Freddy Krueger and his wonderful fun stuff. But to that end, they do some nice things in it. Um, they end up, people start dying. There's this whole Freddy Krueger was the child molester back in the day, and they killed him. And there's a whole thread running through the movie that there's this possibility that he hadn't actually done anything. They set that up nicely through the course of the movie. There's these little hints that he was actually a nice guy. He hadn't actually done these horrible things. People just thought they had because he was new in the area, so they naturally blamed him. And that maybe um, maybe some of the kids had lied about who had done it to, kind of protect things and repressed memories and all that stuff. So that was a wonderful little thing. Now, naturally, it turns out to not be true. Um, he was the one who did these horrible things, and he's coming after them not because they lied, but because they talked in the first place. And this only gets revealed towards the end. Um, there's a wonderful little bit that I remember seeing in the through the movie that Nancy, the girl that plays Nancy in this, she's an artist, and a lot of her work is you get to see, I believe, if I remember correctly, you get to see some of her work, um, some of her artwork that she's been doing, and a lot of it is very, very dark um, in terms of color usage, and there's a lot of kind of disturbing imagery. And I remember reading that children who have been victims of abuse uh, in this way uh, end up tending to, when they draw artistically, they express themselves artistically, um, that abuse tends to color it, and all this and that. This was seeded into the movie back when the story was still kind of saying that no, he didn't really do it. He was framed, or they lied, or something like that. When this still wasn't um, uh, let known, when it wasn't put blatantly out there that Freddy Krueger was the bad guy, they had this artwork there to just be this subtle little indication that no, he really was the bad guy. Um, and I liked that. It was a nice little bit of story element, and not actually audio story element where the actors aren't saying it. No exposition. That's the word I was looking for. It wasn't expositional. It was just a visual little key here. Um, I also like the bit where they say after you've been up for a long time. I believe the science behind this is kind of bunk. I'm not 100% sure on that, but they end up saying that once your brain has been steadily kept awake for like after so many hours, that you start taking micro naps where your brain will hit REM for like 6 or 10 seconds just to try and catch up to keep from uh, driving you batty. So that there alone, I mean, to someone like me who's already a huge fan of Nightmare on Elm Street and knows the mythos that you fall asleep, Freddy's gonna get you because he can make things happen in your dream happen to you in real life, and you can die. But in all the movies, the original ones, they just kept staying awake, and as long as they stayed awake, they were fine. But this one introduces the fact that you can still stay awake and you'll be fine until your brain hits a certain point, and then you start hitting REM sleep even when you're awake. You start having waking dreams. So you can only stave it off for so long, and then he's still going to get you. I mean, that added a tension to the end of the movie for someone like me that I really enjoyed. And it was a good movie. It was well done, well acted, um, at least decently acted for some of them. I did like Nancy, the one who played Nancy, and the other kid who ends up staying alive to the end with her. Um, I like those two. And I loved Jackie Earle Haley, but everyone else can come or go. Still, yes, I've been rambling on because oh my god, I'm almost at 9 minutes now. This is one of the longer episodes of the base, but it's one of my favorite characters and favorite horror movie monsters. So yes, forgive me that. But this week you should be watching this, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake with Jackie Earle Haley. Check it out. It's really good. And I'll see you next time.